Hey there, welcome to our next blog. Wanted to talk today about something that's been weighing on me pretty heavily recently as we're seeing newer reports in the news about another rise in COVID. Pastor Steve, I just don't know if I can make it. I'm just not strong enough. I'm hearing this all the time these days, not just from parishioners, but from friends, from family, and most importantly from myself. I'm just not strong enough. COVID has done some serious damage to our culture, to our way of life, but especially to our expectations and our dreams and our hopes. A victim of COVID that I haven't heard us talk a whole lot about, however, is our own false view of our own strength. We here in the northern suburbs of Chicago, in upper class America, have this assumption, this deep understanding that we are enough, that we can do anything if we just have all the right stuff. If we only have enough money or enough power, enough success, enough strength, then we can accomplish anything. And we've been told this throughout our whole lives. And then came COVID. This virus has revealed the lie of our own control. Even people with enough money and enough power and enough success and enough strength are all still potential victims of COVID. The same goes for most life-threatening diseases like cancer. These things don't seem to care if you believe in yourself or think that you're enough. Pastor Steve, I'm just not strong enough. So many of us are faced, for possibly the first time in our adult lives, with the reality that we just can't. We can't cure COVID. We can't do unsafe things safely. We can't fix this. For the first time, my upper-class white world is facing the reality that people around the world have been facing daily, the reality of powerlessness. COVID is finally teaching us what our Black and brown brothers and sisters have been telling us for decades. They've been sharing with us the experience of powerlessness in the face of police brutality, powerlessness in the face of institutional prejudice, powerless in the face of dictatorships, powerlessness in the face of caste systems and sexist systems and racist systems. COVID is teaching us the powerlessness that we have never been able, or perhaps just willing, to learn, that our brothers and especially our sisters have faced their entire lives. Pastor Steve, I'm just not strong enough. This isn't a new thing. Jews during Jesus' time, Jesus' own family and followers and friends, they knew this powerlessness. I can't quite bring myself to say that Jesus understood this powerlessness, this man who was God, this God who became a man, who had the power over demons and the weather and nature itself. But his circle certainly did. Oppressed first by the Babylonians, and then by the Persians, then by the Greeks, and then the Egyptians, and then the Syrians, and then the Romans. The Jews spent centuries living at the whim of other nations, with their whole way of life completely dependent on the opinions of foreign rulers and the whims of local bureaucrats. When any Roman has the legal right to grab any Jew walking down the road and have his way with them, make them carry the load he's carrying, make them give him the shirt they're wearing, make them fulfill his needs, then we know powerlessness. And Jesus' teachings to his fellows to go the extra mile when asked to go one, or to give them the coat when they just ask for your shirt. This comes in this context. Wonder how many times Jesus heard that same message from his friends and family. Jesus, I'm just not strong enough. There's two realities in this world, whether we acknowledge them or not. The first is that every one of us is ultimately too weak. We truly are not strong enough. But the second is this: that's okay, because God is. 2 Corinthians 12, 9 and 10 says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. This is God's words to Paul. And Paul turns around and replies, therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That's why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Paul knew weakness, and he knew hardships, and he knew persecutions that none of us ever will. But he also knew God better than any of us probably ever will. And this is what he knew. In our weakness, God's strength shines. But also, we don't need God's strength. It's not a tool we can use to fix our own problems. We don't need God's strength. We need God's grace, because it is enough. Our task in this world is not to become strong enough, but rather it's to rest in the God who already is. I know COVID's got you scared. Or maybe it's cancer. Or maybe it's kids wandering away from the faith. Or maybe it's age. Whatever it may be. Don't try to figure out how to be strong enough to beat it. That's what this world will tell you again and again. But instead, rest in God, who has already won the battles. He has conquered death. What more is there for us to be afraid of? Some questions for you to ponder. Where are you resting in your own strength today? And when will you realize that it isn't enough, and instead put your trust in God's strength and God's grace and God's love for you? Rest today in your weakness, knowing that the God who guards and guides us is strong enough for all of us. All right, join us tomorrow morning for worship, 10:30 at libcov.org. You can get there from here, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.